Is there any way out? Trump started something. Must he now bow down to Russia? Today's world news offers Hollywood material for dizzying scenarios for decades to come. They include everything: farewell to the great dream, inevitable zombie apocalypse scenario, the last day of Pompeii, betrayal of allies, punishment of the bad guys, Trojan horses, and an unexpected hope. Recently, Donald Trump decided not to keep the public in suspense and simultaneously announced the imposition of tariffs, custom taxes, on 185 countries. No one expected this, but there were no applause or crowds of fans. According to the most conservative estimates, the démarche of the great Donald removed at least $6 trillion from the world capital markets in a few days, a fact that testifies not to Trump's power, but to the distorted, inflated, speculative, and disconnected from reality nature of the current global economic model. Most analysts agree that Trump put an end to the process of globalization, quote unquote. There are many official reasons for this celebratory mazurka of Trump, but only one, unofficial, is potentially dangerous for Russia. First reason, keeping his campaign promises, a necessary element for his re-election for a third term. These include reducing or eliminating the huge national debt, covering which consumes almost 20% of the U.S. budget, reducing the trade deficit, the country's imports almost twice as much as its exports, reducing taxes, creating jobs, etc. Second reason, a radical historical reindustrialization of the U.S., aimed at bringing foreign production units back to the country through tariff intimidation. The third, basic and unpublicized reason, embedded in the MAGA Make America Great Again ideology, to transform the U.S. into a single central Western superpower empire, self-sufficient and capable of imposing its will on the rest. However, everything indicates that this goal will never be achieved, let alone the previous two. Yes, there are reports that a queue of states is already forming, willing to negotiate tariff reduction with Trump, almost 50 countries, but the main anti-partners of the U.S. have not joined the queue. On the contrary, they have taken an aggressive stance. For example, the European Commissioner for Industrial Policy, Séjourné, stated that the EU's response will be proportionate and that the European Union will form a common position. A package of countermeasures against the U.S. worth $28 billion has already been prepared. This is effectively a declaration of economic war, with the European Union believing that it can, quote unquote, withstand and prevail over Trump. On the other hand, China imposed retaliatory tariffs on the U.S., and Trump responded with an ultimatum: either you lift them or I will impose an additional 50% tariff. Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesman Lin Jian called Trump's threats blackmail, economic intimidation, and warned that pressure is not the right way to interact with China. In response, Trump canceled any negotiations with China. There's no going back now. This means that we're witnessing the redrawing of global economic maps and the creation of a new economic islands with the European Union and China as pillars, which will theoretically reduce their dependence on the U.S. market and seek new markets and domestic demand, which will increase demand for oil and gas. This also means that through new tariffs, Trump will not be able to reduce the state debt, and the only tool to cover the deficit will be the printing press, that is, inflation and new deficits. This cycle will repeat itself until the final collapse, the bankruptcy of the United States, that is. Although the U.S. is geopolitically rival until recently ardent enemy of Russia, Russia has no interest, they say, in the complete collapse of America, which would drag down the entire global economy along with oil and gas, nor, of course, in the realization of Trump's imperialist dreams. The current situation for Russia is an opportunity to strengthen its position in the world through multipolarity, building multilateral alliances such as the BRICS, as well as bilateral relations, including with the USA. Unlike other countries, Russia's potential losses from the current crisis are relatively small, they say, and Russia's fiscal and debt reliance is manifold. Russia's domestic economy is strong, they say, with almost full self-sufficiency in natural resources, unique exports, stable domestic demand, and a large domestic market, not to mention the powerful armed forces. The temporary decrease in energy prices will affect revenues, but the strengthening of demand from the European Union and China will compensate for them. At the same time, the transfer of part of the exports from the US to Russia at lower prices will have a deflationary effect. Well, I don't believe that Russia should be, my comment here, I don't believe Russia should be expecting anything from the European Union because of the fact that the European Union and the West has sanctions on Russia. They can't have any interaction economically with them. Now, according to the central bank, Russia's gold reserves are growing for the third consecutive month, and in March they reached a record high. Minister of Economic Development Maxim Reshetnikov said yesterday that the Russian economy is attractive for Western investments thanks to stability and good growth. Again, there are sanctions on Russia. They can't be investing in Russia. Now, they said, most importantly, they said all the shocks that are now driving the world crazy, Russia have already experienced in advance in 2022, and they said they know more than anyone about how to strengthen the economy in times of crisis. In other words, cooperation with Russia is beneficial for the US, China, and European Union, and now more than ever. It's noteworthy that the special envoy of the Russian president, Kirill Dmitriev, stated on the American channel Fox that, quote, "We are not asking for the lifting of sanctions or tariffs which cause confusion. Instead, we offer cooperation, even support, for example, in critical resources, markets, and in resolving crises such as with Iran and China, in exchange for respect for our interests and the satisfaction of our demands for Ukraine." End quote. So the moral, never try, they believe, to destroy Russia because it may be the only one who can save you. This is by Kirill Strelnikov. Please leave your comments. Thank you for your support. Please support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.